When I first met Burrell's, they were writing all their dockets out manually. They were writing out their contract notes manually, and more particularly they were writing all their checks out and signing them by hand.
What used to happen is we used to write down all of the sellers and all of the buyers onto script cards. That would be one card, and then you'd have another card that would describe what they've bought and sold.
By the end of the day we had cramp in our hands from handwriting. And you had to do the work the same day, you couldn't leave it for the next day.
Everything was done on paper. You learn to understand how things work and how things fit together very well using paper, because it's all so clear and slow, I guess.
So really what they did was that they took the broking processes and they used that as the basis for their diagrams, and then they programmed that. Watching them go through the hard yards of doing all the manual processing and so on that they used to have to do certainly showed me where there was room for automation and improvements on that. And that really became the basis of the computerisation for the industry in Australia.
Burrell's have been a long-standing client and a continuous client over those 25 years. They started on an early version of our system, and they went live on that system in the week of the great stock market crash of 1987.
The computerisation happened in 1987. It was around the date that the market crashed, which is always remembered by everybody.
These ups and downs in the stock market are challenging times, and it strengthened our partnership.
These days it's not just about trades, it's actually about knowing your client. In fact, there's a whole lot of legislation that says we have to understand our client, their assets and what they do and their dates of birth. Well, historically, that information wasn't collected and wasn't considered.
I think prior to that, we didn't actually have anything. We were trying to extract information out of shares, but it's not centralised in the one spot.
Our people have done a really good job with the GBST people in terms of putting that CRM together for the industry.
It's been useful to get Chris's perspective on what's needed. So that's one reason I think our system is as rich as it is.
I think every time there's been a technological advance that's allowed us to automate things, they've grasped it with both hands.
So we've got a 1 + 1 = 3 out of that.
In this day and age, there's not a lot of loyalty around, there's not a lot of good business ethics in some companies, and the fact that we both still have those as our values, I think is very good.
I mean, it's a very unusual thing for two firms to have worked together for 25 years daily. I mean, there are other commercial relationships where someone might buy a truck from or buy their equipment from a certain supplier, but they don't transact every day. Whereas we transact together every day, and lots of transactions every day, and they all work. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable relationship, really.